Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Privett podcast. We haven't recorded one of these episodes in a fair while, so I thought it was only right to come back with a bang. As today, I'm joined with one of Gosport's greatest players. He's played just under 500 games, and in that time, he has scored some absolute belters. As today, I'm joined by Mr. Gosport himself, Dan Woodin. Dan, it's great to have you on the podcast. Looking forward to the next hour ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. Looking forward to it.
Well, I think it's only right we take a look at some recent news. Dan, it was recently confirmed that you have signed a new contract with Gosport and looking forward to the new season now.
Yeah, definitely. A few changes over the summer. A few new lads come in, a few left, which always tends to happen, especially at our level. But we've made some good signings, so hopefully we can push on. After last season's success, really, like we need to go a little bit better this year.
Well, Dan, we'll speak a bit about it later in the episode, like where you are now and where you are at Gosport. But can you take me back to how you originally got into football? Like, I bet you were 7 years old and you were still getting like 50 goals a season.
Funny enough, I started off as a defender. So,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
when I was really young, I was a defender, sort of like a left back, moved into midfield as I was coming up, and sometimes playing up front. So I played a lot of my career or a lot of my youth team football as a winger. So not as many goals as what you think.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was speaking to Roy Williams, so I had him on the podcast a couple months ago, and he was similar. He started off with a striker, and then he eventually got into defence. But you mentioned about originally being in defence there, and you came through the ranks at Moneyfields. And what was it like coming through the ranks there?
But it was good, to be honest with you, because at the time they had some players coming to the end of their careers that had played for some good clubs. So when I was like training with them at 15, playing at 16, it helped me a lot, actually. They did look after me. We had quite a few young lads come through at the same time. So they were the perfect fit for us, really.
And did you enjoy your time at Moneyfields?
Oh, I did, yes. Yeah, it's a good club. Obviously, it's all changed over there now, but it was a good place to start playing, definitely.
Well, Dan, I'm going to make you feel old here. You started your career in 2006, so you made your debut in that year, and I wasn't even born at the time. But what can you remember about your debut?
What can I remember? I can't remember anything about it, to be honest with you. I think I come up. We played away somewhere in Bournemouth, and I come off the bench. I think for the last 20 minutes. Like that's all I can remember.
Well, like I said, it was 17 years ago, so a fair while now you made your debut. But they would have been a Wessex League team at the time. And I want to ask, was non-league such a big thing back then? So would you still have fans come to the game? And did you find it quite a lot of pressure putting on the Moneyfield shirt at times, being such a young age?
I think at that age you're carefree, so no pressure at all. But non-league football, especially lower down the levels, is definitely highlighted now. You get more crowds. Teams are having bigger budgets, wanting to do well. Whereas when I first started playing, there was 50 people in their dogs, and that was it, really.
It's funny you say that. I had Nathan Ashmore on as well, and he said something similar. But he said one of the perks of coming through at non-league is that you become immune to a lot of things. So he came through the ranks at US Portsmouth, so he had a fair few fans come in. But he said it was good to get in the changing room at such a young age. So he understood the banter quite early on, and he got used to things like abuse from fans early on. And was this the same for you? And does it give players a real good upbringing now, non-league?
uh, Obviously, I agree with that. Yeah, it definitely toughens you up if you start from non-league and come all the way through. Um, I wouldn't say I wouldn't have wanted to come from a professional club because that would have been a great experience also. But my journey was through the non-league route. Um, you meet loads of different people on the way. You get loads of different advice, and it does toughen you up definitely.
And then you did start playing really well for Moneyfields, and you started getting recognised from these bigger teams, and one of them being Gosport. So when and how did you find out about the interest from Borough?
I can't remember if I was 18 or 19. We just had a good year at Moneyfields. I think we finished third or something like that, which for them back then, because the Wessex League was really strong with a lot of Bournemouth clubs. That was a great season for us. So it wasn't until I was just expecting to go back to Moneyfields again the next year. But it was Tony Stairs who got in contact with me and asked me if I fancied coming over for a chat.
Well, you mentioned Tony Stairs there, and I know he worked very closely with Alex Pike. So was he the one who really suggested it to Alex Pike? So did you have to do a trial or anything to Alex Pike to prove yourself, or was it just fully based on his recommendation that you got in?
I think I think Alex knew who I was anyway, because obviously him being non-league and if I was playing well. But I think Stairsy recommended it, so I just met up in a local pub with Alex, took 20 minutes and signed basically.
Well, and like you mentioned about having that pub meeting there, and did you feel like Gosport could add something to your career at the time? Did you feel you could maybe push through the leagues?
Yeah, well, that was like the main thing. They were a level above Moneyfields at the time, and I was wanting to try myself at a higher level. So it was the perfect fit for me, really. And it not too much travelling as well. It was only up the road because I was living in Portsmouth at the time. So it was just, it suited me down to the ground.
And then upon joining, was what ambitions was there from the club? Did they immediately want to get that promotion? And was this one of the things that drove you into joining?
Yeah, definitely. There was big changes happening actually at Gosport when I signed, because they just brought in at the same year they brought Mick Catlin in and signed 7 or 8 different players, which they were trying to get out of the league and go into the next level. So it was nice to be part of that.
And I was reading about a lot of the players who they did bring in, and I've got two of them here. So Justin Bennett, he's an all-time top goal scorer here at Gosport, and you had Steve Claridge as well, another big player. And it must have been great growing up with these two players, absolute goal machines. And I bet they taught you a couple of things or two.
Yeah, Justin, I've never seen anyone like it. Whatever he hit just flew in the top corner, and he done that for the whole 8, 9 years that I played with him. Like everything he hit just went straight in the back of the net. Steve was a different one. Obviously, at the end of his career, but his attitude, his work rate, and everything, you'd think he'd come in and want to just sort of have a doss. He didn't. He was the opposite. So it was good experience playing with him actually.
Well, you mentioned about him being a veteran there, and he would have had all the skills from the upper leagues. So I think he played with Pompey, Steve Claridge, and he's a proper non-league veteran when he joined. And did he teach you like mentally as well, not just physical things like doing some skills, how to shoot? Did he help you mature at such a young level?
To be honest with you, we only played together for a short period of time. I wouldn't say he passed anything really on. He was brought in to help us get promoted, basically. So he was just a player like the same as all of us. He had a busy life, so the moment he finished football, we had to jump straight in his car and go and do football focus.
Oh, really?
But when he was at Gosport and he was playing, he was turning up for training. He was 100% committed.
Yeah, because like you said, he did football focus for a while. So that's yeah, that's really cool. But like I want to talk about the 2011-2012 season. And literally with every player I speak to, they always have fond memories of it. Like they've mentioned a lot of them mentioned about wanting this promotion beforehand, and some of them said they didn't think they would get promotion. And you mentioned a bit about it in the previous answers that you did think you could get this promotion. And when did you realise in this season that you were a real promotion contender?
But once the season kicked off, you could see we're a decent side. I think we finished. Did we finish third that year?
Yeah, you finished third in the table.
Finished third, and for a long period of time, it looked like we were right at the top, having a chance to win the league. But then obviously we faded off. But obviously come good in the playoffs.
And then you mentioned, to be fair, I didn't even think about it. There are a lot of similarities actually to this season and that 2011-2012 season. And like you said, you were at the top of the league for a fair while actually. And then dropping down, you did get to the playoffs. And was this a big, I wouldn't say a big demotivator, but did it knock a bit of energy out of you, like after being at the top for so long?
No, I don't think so, because for a little while off, you could see that we weren't going to win the league. So you sort of prepare yourself for the playoffs. We were quite an experienced side that year, which helped. We had like some real good non-league players. So the moment we knew we were going to make the playoffs, the next thing's to win them, and that's what we done.
But you would find out you'd play Sholin in the semi-finals, and it must have been a great draw knowing you're going to be playing your rivals.
Yes, yeah, it was. It was a tight game, tight encounter. Both teams know each other well, like friends and everything on opposite sides. I think there was a sending off. Actually, it was on me. I think I got taken out by someone who I was
Oh,
quite close with, like Lewis Fenimore, and he got straight red. And then we took the game to them in the end. And then Justin Bennett turned up with a worldie.
I was going to say it wasn't a bad goal, was it, from Justin?
No, it's unbelievable.
No, but getting through to this final now, you beat Sholin, and then getting into this final, surely, like I mentioned the word motivation there, and I think it's key in football. Like it links nicely to momentum, and like getting to the final, did you have a lot of hype going into it?
Yeah, definitely. When you make a final, you know it's 50-50, and it's just who turns up on the day. Pool's a tough place to go. We still struggle there now. Like we always struggle to get a result when we play at Pool, and they were a good side. And we went 1-0 down quite early. I broke my ribs, had to come off after 15 minutes. So it was all going on. And then Steve come on, changed the game, and then the rest is history, really.
I bet it was more painful knowing like you would miss the rest of the game than the actual injury itself.
Yeah, it was. And the celebrating afterwards was difficult as well because every time I looked one way, someone punched me in the ribs.
Well, I was going to say, you did break your ribs, so I'm guessing, did you go to hospital? And how did you even find out that Gosport won promotion then?
No, I stayed and watched the game. So I
Did
didn't. I
you?
didn't ever go to hospital. Yeah, so I just stayed and watched the game, and then left the bar at about 3 in the morning.
You know what? That is fair play. I bet you felt bad after getting up that morning, the following
Oh,
morning.
I couldn't get out of bed for a week.
Well, I was going to say, I remember Justin saying the promotion celebrations after that night were just immense.
Yeah, yeah, they were messy. There was a lot of flying pizza and all sorts, but that's what the lads were like back then. Everyone was really close, so it was a good celebration.
Well, it sounded really good. And the thing is, it didn't just happen once, did it? It happened the following season. But before we talk about the promotion, in that following season, you got to see a lot of new faces join the team. And one of them being your close pal, Rory Williams. And Rory, he started off being a striker and he would have been a similar age to you at the time. And did you form this instant bond?
Yeah, so Justin went on holiday. Justin started the season unbelievable again. He probably had about 20 goals in the first 10 games, but he went away to get married. So Rory come in, and me and him just hit it off from the start. Really, we didn't play a lot of football back then. It was a lot of just kick it over the top and run after it when we were both pretty quick, and it just seemed to work. We just couldn't stop scoring for the rest of the year.
Well, I was going to say, in the end, I would say it was one of the main contributors to Gosport getting that promotion. And I bet now, thinking back, is it weird thinking as Rory as a striker?
It is now watching him, yeah, because he's so good at left back. But oh, he he was very fast, so it was a benefit to us. If we could just clip the ball in behind, you weren't catching him.
Really? Wow. To be fair, I always knew Rory, he has a good finish. Like I've seen him take a couple of penalties, and some of the penalties he does, he just drills it into the top corner like it's easy. So yeah, he's clearly a good striker. But I've got a question. Who's better? Peak Dan Wooden as striker or peak Rory Williams?
Oh, I don't know. That's a close one. Us two up front together, I don't think we're ever getting beat.
To be fair, we'll have to do it for a final couple games in this season. I'd love to see it, and I'm sure a couple of the Gosport fans wouldn't mind seeing it for a bit of
I don't think
nostalgia.
it'd be as pretty now.
Maybe do it in that testimonial game. That'd be lovely to see.
Yeah.
But in that season as well, at the same time, I would say it was a strange season to say the least. Because Gosport, they didn't exactly start off great, did they? I know a lot of pundits and fans at the time, they were writing Gosport off for maybe getting relegated. But in the end, you just went on this insane streak. 23 games, just constantly winning. And what do you put this down to? Like, I've asked lots of people, nobody knows what it comes down to. But do you know the answer to this question?
Uh, I don't know. We were really struggling at the start of the year, and it was just let's stay up, get this season out of the way, and then we'll regroup. But I don't know what changed. Obviously, bringing Rory in helped a lot because he come in and was on fire. But you know what it's like. It's the same as losing. Once you lose a few in a row, it's hard to win. But we went the other way. We were winning all the time, and we just felt like we were never going to get beat.
And that's exactly what you did. You did keep winning. And I don't even think it was just in league games as well. So I was doing some research and you didn't do too bad in the FA Cup that year. You beat Bath and you ended up drawing Colchester. And that was the main non league game. I don't think any other teams at that level, like Gosport, got to that round of the FA Cup. And I'm guessing you started getting a lot of coverage. And did you notice you were getting any interest from any other bigger teams?
No, not really. Obviously, since I've signed for Gosport, I've always been a Gosport boy, really. I live over here now. The club suits me down to the ground. My football suits Gosport Borough, so that's why I've been here for so long. It just seems natural to play for the club.
Well, to be fair, that was really clear to see in that season. And like I mentioned about you and the other attackers there, you helped form this great combination of an attack force, and that eventually got you into the playoffs miraculously. I know you were waiting on other teams in order to get that final playoff spot, but once it was confirmed you were that last team to get the playoffs, it must have been incredible. And how did you find out about that?
Yeah, so our game had finished. I think we won 1-0, and we were stood on the pitch just waiting to get a thumbs up or thumbs down from anyone that knew what was going on, really. But once we found out the result, obviously made the playoffs. It was odds against us then because we were the bottom team in the playoffs. So that means we've got to play away both games. So I don't think anyone fancied us to win.
Yeah, to be fair, that really summed up my next question there, because I was about to ask, going into this playoffs, were you considered an underdog? Because you did only just get that playoff position, but you had come off that incredible run. So mentally, you must have been doing incredible. And I suppose this was one of the big things that boosted you and helped get that win against Stalbridge.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Stourbridge is a long way away from Gosport Borough. So it was a long Tuesday night. They were a good side. They finished second. I think they beat us. I think they might have beat us both times in the league, actually. But the playoffs are a lottery. We turned up, we rode our luck, and ended up nicking the win, really.
Well, it was a strike from yourself that ended up getting a win, and it wasn't a bad one either, was it?
No, no, yeah, it was. Yeah, me and Rory both scored on the night. Yeah. So
Well,
straight in the top corner.
I was going to say it was a lovely goal, and I'm guessing I think yours was the second goal as well. But once you got that final goal, I believe it was late on into the game. I couldn't really find too much because the games weren't recorded at the time. But looking into it, it was quite late. And did you know at that point you got the winner? Did it feel like you got the winner?
Yeah, so it was backs to the wall for us, really. That the last 15 minutes, they threw the kitchen sink at us. But we were fortunate to have Nathan Ashmore in goal, really, which he saved everything that come at him that night.
Well, as well, beating Stourbridge, I'm guessing this was incredible because in reality they were probably the best team on paper, sorry, going into that playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. They had a great year, finished second, were unlucky not to win the league. No one really fancied us to get a result. So it was a nice drive home.
Well, I bet you enjoyed the bus journey, having some drinks. It must have been great doing some karaoke. Actually, brings me nicely into my next question. I'll ask you about this after the Hemel game, because I'm guessing you did some good celebrations. But the Hemel game, it was another game where it was just a roller coaster of emotions, wasn't it? Because you were inches away from getting a goal with your shot hitting the post, and it was just a roller coaster of emotions. There was goals everywhere, and I'm guessing it was a good game to play in with the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, definitely. Travelling up that day when we stopped at the services, as we were walking in, there must have been 1,000 Gosport fans stood there singing, cheering, clapping us in. And then we get to the ground and all you can see is yellow and blue flags everywhere. Like, we were really well supported. Um, the game couldn't have gone any better, really, for the first hour, 70 minutes, 2-0 up. But when they equalised last kick of the game, you almost think you're done for. But luckily, like I say, like where it's a lottery, went down to penalties, and we held our nerve.
And like I said, you said it quite a few times. Nathan Ashmore did a save, and I felt like after that moment, all the penalties taken after that, you could just see that real power in the penalties, and there was this real self-belief. And once Sammy Igo netted that last final penalty, must have been party started. And when did it actually sink in that you were going to be getting that back-to-back promotion and the highest finish in over 50 years for Gosport?
It was a great feeling. Like I say, when you got Nathan goal, you got a chance. And the last penalty, you wouldn't want anyone else other to take it than Sammy Igo. Coolest cucumber around he was. But the journey home was unbelievable. You can imagine the bus was rocking. We go back to the clubhouse because they opened the clubhouse for us, and there's just full up with fans. It was brilliant.
And would you say this has been probably your favourite game to play in so far of your career?
Uh, yes, I probably would say that was my favourite game. Yeah, definitely. Just because the atmosphere on the day, Hemel, the ground's quite small, quite tight. it was completely full up with people. And the Gosport fans, like they do now, behind the goal at home, they just did not stop singing.
And has this been something that's been constant throughout your career, like with Gosport fans of fans? Because I've noticed, especially this season, so I've only joined this season, but the fans, they're just incredible here at Gosport, aren't they? And has this been a constant theme throughout your whole career with Gosport?
The fans are great. When I first signed, I think we were only getting 150 through the gate at home games, but obviously we were lower down. And back then, non-league football didn't have such a pull because obviously the Premier League and everything. But the last few years, well, especially since I've been back, the fans have been unbelievable. They've been turning up week in, week out, even when we struggled, and we've been getting great attendances. And it makes such a difference for the lads.
And I would probably say one of the main attractors that probably pushed a lot of fans into supporting Gosport is what you did next season with Gosport, because it was more history that you would be making. Because this time Gosport would play a final at Wembley. But before we get into that final and talk about that, I want to take it back to the semi-finals, the Battle of Hampshire, where you played Hamilton Waterlooville. And I just mentioned there the atmosphere was great, and these two semi-finals, they weren't too bad either, involving atmosphere.
Yeah, the second leg, especially at Privett Park, was packed to the rafters. You couldn't move around the ground. The pitch was terrible. Back then, there was no grass on the pitch. It was just sand. It was a proper local derby with a lot at stake. Luckily, we had Tim Seals come up trumps for us. Yeah, that was a pretty special game as well, you know.
Oh, definitely. Because I remember speaking to Justin Bennett, and he said, really, the Battle of Hampshire between Hamilton Waterloo and Gosport, it started long before the match, and it was a bit of social media bantering going along. And did you take part in any of this?
I may have said a couple of things along the way, yeah.
But I bet this is all the fun, isn't it, of playing football? Like when you draw your, well, rivals, let's be real, Hamilton Waterlooville, they're probably Gosport's main rivals, maybe Salisbury. I'd say probably between those two. But you've got to have that friendly banter. And it's one of the things that probably drove you going into the semi-final. It just puts that extra boost in you almost, that you want to get a result against them.
100%. That's definitely what it done for us. I always felt that they didn't think we belonged in the same league as them, that they were like beneath us. So when we got to that game, like we just wanted it more on the day for them reasons, really, to prove our point.
So in a weird way, it was a bit of a case of kind of just wanting to shut them up, really. In the
Yeah,
nicest
yeah, but yeah, in the nicest way, yeah, just like to let them know we are here, we're here to stay, basically.
And then, did this also transform onto the pitch as well? Did you say a lot of it came down to mind games between the players?
Uh, yeah, I think so. Like we wanted to win at all costs, whereas we were a close knit team, would run through brick walls for each other. Whereas they were slightly different at the time. They didn't really have that. So when we were walking on the pitch, you could almost see that they were a bit worried because they knew they were going to get lumps kicked out of them, basically.
You did get that result in the second leg, and you did it as well in the first leg. And it was brilliant goals from Tim Seals. And then once that final whistle, it did go, and it was like pandemonium as sat loose. Like I was watching all the old Vetro videos, and it just looked well good. You had all the pitch invasions, and I bet this just brings back incredible memories now.
Yeah, it was great to be part of it. It was a great experience. I can't believe how long ago it is now. Really, time flies, doesn't it?
It
Um,
really does.
it's just nice to put the club on the map. So it done the club proud, really.
Well, with that semi-final, you started getting a lot of coverage, and I'm guessing it brought a lot of fans in as well. But I want to ask, when you did get to that semi-final, you did get the win. When did it probably hit you that you would be playing in a major final, probably the biggest non-league final there is to play, the FA Trophy? You'd be playing on the pitch where only legends really get to play.
Yeah, probably the day after because the night was a bit of a blur, to be honest with you. Um, and then once you know that you're playing there, you could see it in training. People didn't want to get injured. People were looking after themselves because they just wanted to experience Wembley.
Well, I've heard some great stories from that night, that semi-final night. And I've heard a lot of players, they were doing karaoke that night. So were you doing a karaoke song? And what would be your go-to karaoke song?
I like Man Eater. It's called.
Oh.
It's a bit before your time.
I was going to say, I don't think I've heard of that one. You have to
No, I
maybe
won't
give us
sing
some
it for you. I
audition.
won't sing it for you now.
Sure. Oh, we'll leave that until the end of the season, I suppose, when
Yeah.
you get that promotion. But when you did get to the final, like I said, it was a game of huge magnitude. So you would have the likes of BT Sport, now TNT Sport, streaming the game. It'd be going out to like millions across the country, this game. And then playing in a game of this magnitude. I know you said you coped pretty well with stress in the earlier questions we just asked, but did you find any stress going into this game? Or was it just like training as normal? Was it just like any other game for you?
Just excitement, really. Not nervous or anything like that. It was just pure excitement. That's how I can describe it.
Well, I remember speaking to, well, like I said, I've spoken to quite a few players from this final, and they said the preparation was in some ways better than the final. So you were doing all the like a lot of team bonding, you were playing at professional grounds. So I think you played at Reading, like their training ground, and did all the training through them. But it must have been great, and I bet you felt like a proper footballer at this point. Well, a
Yeah,
proper.
the club looked after us in that trophy run. Actually, in the quarterfinals, I think we stayed up the night before. And we trained at Derby's training ground. I would like to say we done Reading. The club give us everything we needed really to get the result, but unfortunately we couldn't on the day.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the result was, I suppose, the one thing that did let it down. You didn't get to start the final, but in some ways, this was probably better because you did come on as a sub and you got your own little round of applause, which must have been quite nice. And seeing your name flash up on the big billboards.
Yeah, it was nice. I was gutted not to start, to be honest with you, but the next thing is get on the pitch and play. So fortunately, I got the call, and I think I got 20 minutes. So it was a good experience.
And looking back now, what would you say you enjoy more? Would you say you enjoy a cup run or would you rather have a good league run?
Winning the league for me, definitely, 100%.
Well, to be fair, like I said, it looks great going on league runs. I think, like you said there, it's enjoyable the journey more, isn't it? Like the league runs.
Yeah, you for 40 weeks. That is, you train every other day to get a result, and then to know that you're top of the table. There's not a better feeling.
Well, definitely. And like based on those two previous seasons, I suppose it was quite easy to like become fan favorites almost. Like I saw a good banner of you. I'm sure you know Privett Life, a great, brilliant fan page. So I'll do a little shout out to you, Privett Life. But I saw this banner and it said, "We're only here to watch Dan Wooden." And I suppose this is one of the things you enjoy most about playing in non-league. With these Premier League teams, let's be real, none of the stars, they won't get that connection with the fans so much. Whereas you actually get to meet the fans, you get to know them. And has this always been some of the bits you've enjoyed most about non-league, getting to know these fans more?
Yeah, definitely. In non-league, you get a more of a personal relationship with the fans. Like you come in afterwards, you sit down, you have a drink, you have a chat with them. They'll go, "You were good today," or "God, you were crap today." But that's what it's all about. That is non-league, and I enjoy playing football in non-league.
Well, to be fair, I think it's clear to see, like you pretty much you play with your heart on like your shirt every game. And I've really noticed that since joining. And it's probably outputted why you've been such a good player over the last couple of years. And in that time, like I said, you've played nearly 500 games now for Borough. And in that time, I must say you've got some brilliant goals. And I want to take it back to one goal in particular. It came in 2015 and you were playing against Hampton Waterloo on Boxing Day and you scored an out of this world goal, flicked it back, overhead kicked it into the top corner. And can you just take me back to the memories of this goal?
I could tell you something. I wouldn't be able to do it now. um, yeah, it was a good goal. To be honest with you, Rory set it up again. He crossed the ball. I had a touch that sort of popped the ball up in the air, and then I just swung my leg at it. Really, and that's all there is to it.
Well, I suppose when you kind of get those sorts of goals, you don't really realise until the crowd starts cheering because you wouldn't have seen it, obviously, because well, you did the overhead kick. But I bet that's how you found out about it, that it went in. And were you surprised at all that it went in?
Yeah, when I finally managed to look at the goal, the ball was already in the net. So I didn't know what to do. I just sprinted and done a knee slide.
I think you did it in front of the Hammond and Waterloo fans
Yeah,
as
that
well.
sums up the rivalry at the time. Yeah.
Oh, it's just pure the best bits of non-league. And I started looking into it, diving into the clip, looking at who published it, and I saw got a lot of media coverage. So I'm pretty sure Match of the Day, they did a segment on it. They talked about it. So that must have been pretty cool. And a lot of newspapers, they started talking about it. And looking back at it now, would you say this is the best goal in Gosport's history?
I don't know about that. I've seen some good goals, some from me, some from others over the years. It's got to be up there, especially against the local rival. On Boxing Day, big crowd. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's top three.
Well, I can't lie, it was a great goal, and you have to do one of them against Hampton Waterloo next season and do the same celebration as
I've
well.
told you I can't do them anymore. I'll have to head it instead.
Well, to be fair, whatever it is against Hampton Waterloo, I'm sure we will take it. But unfortunately, all good things, they do come to an end. And in 2016, you would leave the club. And it must have been a hard decision leaving the club. And especially with a club, they were facing pretty bad problems, weren't they, financially?
Yeah, it was becoming tough. Would have probably left a little bit sooner if it wasn't for the lads that we had in the team. We were all doing it for each other, basically. Didn't want to let each other down. But it got to a point where enough was enough, really. I just had a little boy, so we were travelling around the country playing football, and then not knowing what was going on the financial side of things. So yeah, that's when I made the decision to leave.
Well, I'm guess playing for a club with that financial problems, it definitely does trickle down, doesn't it, to the players on the pitch? Like I was watching an interview with a Berry player, and he said about it how it pretty much it messes him up because even at a club of Gosport's level, you're still getting that income, and that income can help eventually. It can help for paying for things like days out, maybe even some players maybe buying food, etc. And it must be hard with that motivation playing for a club with that level of financial issues.
Yeah, it was difficult. Like I say, it would have been unbearable if it weren't for the lads that we had in the team. But when the club are asking you to travel 6 hours in total on a coach on a Saturday for nothing, and then not know if you're ever going to get anything, and then Tuesday night you got to go again, it was a difficult time.
Well, you would go on to join your former team, Moneyfields, and I'm guessing once you got this offer, it was the obvious choice to join your boyhood team.
Yeah, definitely. Once we had our little boy, I wanted to play a little bit more local anyway, so I wasn't out of the house as much. So it suited really. They were doing well in the Wessex League. They needed a couple more players maybe to help get them promoted. That was just the road I took after that.
Well, you did end up netting a couple, so I've got here you got 5 times in 17 games, and that's a good rate considering you joined quite late on in the season. And you finished second in the league, and at the time you didn't know you were going to be getting this promotion, and it must have been gutting just narrowly missing out. And then you did get this promotion because Portland, they dropped out, they didn't want to take the promotion due to obvious reasons. And I bet this was a weird one celebrating this promotion because it must have just been weird.
It was strange because we finished top of the league, but then had 2 points or something deducted for a player that shouldn't have been playing. So then that meant Portland won the league. So then they were going up, but then they couldn't go up, so we did go up. Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, because I suppose you can't really celebrate it on the day. So, like, let's say Gosport get promoted, I don't know, when you got promoted in 2011, 2012, you could celebrate it because you knew nothing was going to get in the way. It was guaranteed. But I suppose you've only found out a couple of days later and you wouldn't have even been with your teammates at the time.
Yeah. So because Portland pulled out of promotion or whatever happened, yeah, Moneyfield's got the call to take their place. It was a strange one.
Well, nonetheless, I bet you enjoyed your time at Moneyfields because you would go on to play with some of your old teammates, so Brett Pope being one of them. And once again, joining Moneyfields, was it just to enjoy playing football once again, enjoying playing with some of your former mates?
Yeah, it was definitely. So I'll still say if the stuff happened at Gosport, never happened at Gosport, I would never have left. But the next best thing was dropping down, playing a little bit more local so I could see my family more. And then the bonus was so many ex-Gosport players being there.
And then after this season with Moneyfields, you would go on to join AFC Portchester. And what caused this move?
Just a change, really. Just same again. Moneyfields went up, got promoted into the South and West League or whatever it was called at the time. The travelling was getting difficult with the young child at home, so I made the decision to drop back into the Wessex, so I didn't have to travel halfway around the country 3 times a week.
And then joining Portchester, you play a couple times for them, but I believe it was in 2019 that COVID really started affecting football and especially non-league. It pretty much killed the non-league seasons for a couple seasons. And in the end, I'm guessing you didn't really get to play too much for the Royals.
I played the COVID year. I played the whole season apart from the last 8 games, I think it was, because obviously it got cancelled. Had quite a good year. Portchester, I think we were second, trying to catch first, but then obviously they pulled the plug on all the football because of COVID.
Well, when this COVID did happen, I think for a lot of players I've mentioned, they started, well, they wanted to get back into football, some of the players who had previously retired. And I'm guessing this is something that sparked your move back to Gosport. You wanted to return to a place where you loved playing, obviously. And how did this come back on the cards for you? Because I think it was Sean Gell. I think he was the manager at the time. So did you make a conversation to him or did he message you?
Well, so funny enough, I had the urge to try and go back up the levels again, and was actually going to sign for another club in the Southern Premier. And I think Sean got wind of that and then gave me a call basically and said, why don't you just come back to Gosport? So that was a no-brainer. The moment he phoned me, I drove down and signed.
Really looked back since, have you? It's been incredible since you have re-signed. And like I said, it's been incredible because you've won Gosport's Golden Boot for the last 5 seasons, which I just find incredible, and including a number of Player of the Season awards as well. And it's like your fine wine, you just keep getting better as you're getting older as well. And do you put that down to the people you're playing football with as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like I enjoy the environment at Gosport. A lot of friendly faces. The lads are brilliant. It's got some great players. Some of them I've played with for quite a while, like Rory, etc. It's just a good place to play football. I feel comfortable. So, and I always think if I feel comfortable, I play my best football. It's just a good fit.
And then since returning, I'd say the team's form, it's been a bit topsy-turvy, hasn't it? So I'd say your first season back, I think Gosport finished mid-table, so probably expected. But in the 2022-23 season, the club, they nearly got this relegation. And I'd say it was a pretty bad time for Borough. And then if you juxtapose that to this season, where we finished high, we finished in the playoffs. What do you put this down to? This like change in like just results really in form. I suppose a big obvious reason would be Pat and Joe, but do you put it down to any other reasons?
I think the reason the year we struggled, nearly got relegated. I think it's the same as what I was saying earlier. You almost get in a rut. You think you're going to get out of the rut, and then it never happens. You go, "Oh, we'll win in a minute," and we never did. So then it started to become a panic, and then once you start panicking, you start not playing great football. And I think that's really because we had a great team, but we just couldn't gel. And I think that's really all it was to it. Like we weren't a bad side, but we were just picking up bad results.
And then once you did get the call about Pat and Joe, you found out they would be becoming the managers. I'm not sure when you did find out about it, but you would have played with Pat and Joe both personally as well. So finding out they would be becoming managers, like I'm guessing you would have been happy, but did you find it a bit unexpected them joining as coaches? They'd previously been successful with Petersfield, obviously, but I felt like from a general consensus on Twitter, it was quite unexpected.
Yeah, probably the worst kept secret in non-league at the time
Definitely.
because
Yes.
everyone could see it coming a mile off. They phoned me personally and said they were coming in, which I sort of expected anyway. Um, like they're great coaches, great managers. Um, they've done great for the club. Everyone's bought into what they're trying to do, and that's the main thing. You've got to have the lads on board, and everyone's been on board. The way they want to play, how they want to train, and that's the difference really. Everyone's on the same wavelength.
Looking back last season, would you say it's been one of your favourite seasons of recent time? Just where you're getting the wins, you're getting the goals, and I'm guessing it was just an enjoyable time last season.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably been the most enjoyable year I've had for a very long time. We're playing nice football. We were scoring lots of goals, winning all the time. Um, Training was good, and I'm not one to love training, but the training it kept you mentally at it all the time. It wasn't boring. So all in all, it was a really good season.
Well, in the end, I was speaking to Mark, funny enough, about this earlier this morning. But like I said, it came from an incredible season, and we just came unlucky in the end. We got the short straw. We got drawn to Salisbury, so we would be playing them away in the playoff semi-final. And in the end, in a weird way, I would say it was out of Gosport's control because you scored a goal, in my opinion. I thought it went in, looked like a goal. I'm not sure if you thought it went in, but like just decisions against us, they seem to always be constantly going against us. And even Charlie Vasmer, like I don't know how that was a penalty. And then just losing in this manner in the semi final, I bet it was crushing, wasn't it?
Yeah, to say when we drew Salisbury, we knew we were two closely matched sides, not a lot in it, very similar sides. On the day, we played very well. We were the better side, definitely. Second half, we were unbelievable. We scored. I hit the bar, might have gone in, might not. Danny Hollands nearly got it in as well. We had other chances, and then at the end of the day, we got robbed. That's all I can say about it, really. We got robbed, but they were at home, big crowd, getting on the referee's back, and the ref couldn't really handle it, to be honest.
And then what was said after the game? So you would have been one of the veterans, and with Gosport being a young squad already, so you had the likes of Alex Barser, Corey Jordan's quite young, Kavanagh, still experienced players, but still at a young level, and players who might not have experienced this yet. And I'm guessing you acted as almost a bit like similar to Pat and Joe. You were just there to put your arm around their shoulders, just giving them your experience from previous finals and letting them know it's all right.
Yeah, definitely. The lads, like we said afterwards, the way we played most of the season and definitely in the playoffs, they should be proud. Like, it's a good year. They've done Gosport unbelievably well, and it comes down to bad decisions why we're not where we want to be. I'm not saying we would have still won or whatever, but the referee cost us, really.
And unfortunately, I suppose that's just football sometimes. It's the luck of the straws. And obviously, you didn't get that final, but still a great season. And what was said to you by Pat and Joe after this game? Was it just this belief that we can go again next season? And I'm guessing this could also, it could add, couldn't it, as another contributor to next season, could give you this extra motive in securing promotion.
Yeah, definitely. Just got to dust yourself off. I think when things go wrong for you, you just got to remember the feeling. So next time you're in that position, you don't let it happen again. Obviously, it wasn't self-inflicted; it was from an outside party. But the lads should hold their heads high, but remember how it felt to lose.
And then a couple of weeks followed, and I'm guessing Pat and Joe started getting back to work. They started making all the key decisions, and they would have phoned you. And I know for a doubt they wanted to sign you back, and you have signed. But getting this phone call, did you always know you wanted to play another season with Gosport, or did you think last season might have been your last season, your last dance?
I wasn't too sure, really, to be honest. I enjoyed playing under Pat and Joe. Wanted to stay. Um, if it could be done, it would have been done. We would have just done it straight away. It took a bit of time. Um, I never really wanted to go anywhere else. I've seen my last few years playing for Gosport, so which is a couple more yet, hopefully. So yeah, it's a no-brainer when we got it sorted, really.
Confirmed it on the social media channels. Ian Rory, you're going to be doing a testimonial game, and that'd be great to watch. Seeing you two like finish together as a duo because you've been so incredible over the years. And I'm guessing this could be quite an emotional season for you, and you're going to want to cherish every game, every goal now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not retiring though after the testimonial. I'll be at Gosport again the next year, hopefully. But the testimonial is a nice touch from the club. Really, you don't see it. You don't see it very often in non-league. It's more of a professional thing. It's just the club saying thank you for your service. And me and Rory are absolutely buzzing that we've been given the opportunity. It's going to take a lot of planning, but it's something we're looking forward to.
And then speaking on that note of milestones as well, you're so close to 500 matches, aren't you? And I'm guessing this is going to be a big one for you.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not sure I'll get to 600, but I think I've got 6 games left to go to get to 500. So that'd be nice to do that as soon as possible.
Well, I'm sure it's going to happen sooner. Like, I'm not sure if we count pre-season games in that, or if it's just league games or whatever. But it's going to be coming around soon. So you'll have to come on down, watch Dan, and get his final, well, 500th game. Should be a good game. But Dan, going into this next season now, I'm guessing the main aims are to get this promotion, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The main aim is to get all the lads pulling in the right direction, tactics wise and stuff like that, and then try and build on what we done last year.
And how many goals do you think you're going to get next season?
I don't know. Hopefully 20 odd again. That'd be nice.
Oh, that'd be lovely to be fair. Get the Summer League Golden Boot. Well, you were voted in this season's Player of the Season award. I can't remember who got it, but you narrowly missed out. So a bit of a pain. I reckon you could get it next season though, getting their team of the season.
Yeah, cheers. Not bad for an old boy.
Well, not bad at all. And Dan, I just want to say, like, you've had a brilliant career so far, and we've had a couple of fans message us just wanting to ask some questions. I think I know the answer to this one already, but they want to know what's been your favourite memory involving football?
At Gosport Borough or
I suppose it could be at Gosport Borough in general. Didn't really
uh,
specialise.
Like we just spoke about previously, the Hemel Hempstead game was massive for me just because all the emotions, and then close second is the FA Trophy semi-final.
Well, to be fair, I thought you were going to say that. Like I said, brilliant game. And I think I know the answer to this one as well. But what's the best goal you've scored?
Yeah, the overhead is good, but there's one that I scored against Hayes and Yedding, I think it was, at home in the Conference South, like a touch and volley all in one movement. That's definitely my favourite.
And then this one's a pretty cool one as well. I think this is a nice one to round it up on. Who's the funniest in the squad and who's the best dancer as well?
Uh, who's the funniest in the squad? Charlie Wasmer. He makes me laugh. Yeah, he does make me laugh. And what was the other question? Sorry.
Who's the best dancer as well?
Who's the best? I'm not too bad at dancing. If not, it's me or Cavs.
Oh wow! So you're giving it to yourself. Like I said, I like the confidence there.
I'm
You're
only
doing some...
joking. I'm only joking. I can't move.
Oh no, we have to see some dancing, like I said, if we do get that promotion. But I think that's a good way to end it. And Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure to like meeting you and speaking to you. And I think the viewers they're really going to enjoy this episode. But do you have any final words for the Gosport fans?
Just keep supporting us. Keep turning up in your hundreds because it makes a big difference for us. It really does.
And can we get the final words up the borough?
Up the borough.
Final words from me, up the borough.